decided that we move that. I don't think Mr. Cully, I think Mr. Cully and everything that he did was outstanding, and I stand by his numbers and appreciate him 1,000%. So I called the sheriff because I wanted him to understand that he has control over his budget. He has the right to hire his deputies at whatever salary he chooses to. The fact that he starts them off at $35,000, and then once they come out of training, he increases their salary to the normal $39,000. I said, why don't you hold that money and give that money to them at the end of the training? Which I wouldn't want to start at a lower salary than someone performing, but I think there's a way that it can be done to attract people. And that was the gist of our conversations. And I don't want conversations to be political. I want them to be problem solving and trying to resolve issues, not creating issues. And once again, I just think that this tit for tat thing has to stop, and we need to get on with the business of how to ensure that we get the best people and keep them for as long as we can in the sheriff's office and in Caroline County. And again, Mr. Cully, certainly I appreciate what you did, and hope you don't take any offense to it, because I did. All right, thank you. That's up my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Underwood.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have just a couple. We just had a great meeting with the school board and the school officials to try to figure out what our budget would be for next year. I think it was a good first step. We may have quite a few before they get to a final budget, so I do want to say thank you again to all the school folks that met. And one thing in particular, I'm always there to help, but I wish Mr. Black the best of luck with the polar bear plunge. I will be somewhere very warm at that time. I don't do cold, but I do wish you the best of luck. And on a really personal note, it's good to see some folks here. It's good to see Reverend Atkins, who I grew up with. We used to play together when we were both little, and one of us had more hair. But it is good to see that. But I had a comment more personal for me than for anything else, and it kind of had to do with what happened this weekend. And I realized again, life is short. And I want to say, if I have offended anybody, I apologize. And if anybody has been offended or offended me, I forgive them. And we all need to be here working for the best of the county. And that's what I'm going to do. So thank you, and that's all I had to say.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Thank you. I would also like to reiterate the Fire and Rescue Awards dinner was very enlightening to the number of hours. 23,000 hours donated by volunteers is probably around 24 man-years if we had to hire folks to actually do that. So in retrospect, you have to look at how much money that has actually saved and how much time that's into a community that is spent by volunteers that sometimes we don't always see, we don't always realize. We see the lights, we see the trucks, we don't always realize who's driving them, whether it's career or volunteers. It's a mix, and I just hope everybody understands when somebody shows up that it is, in some cases, volunteers, and in some cases it's paid staff, but without the volunteers, I don't think the whole organization would work. On Mr. Underwood's note, I did have with Mr. Thomas a discussion before the last board meeting to actually read the letter. To be fair to everybody in the audience, I will take the blame for that. I was not here. I was trying to do things remotely and trying to get everything laid flat so that everybody would get the same story and everybody could hear the same thing. So I will take the blame for the rearranging of the agenda at the last meeting. I was here, but I wasn't here during the day to actually get everything done that I wanted to get done. I was remote and trying to do everything via telephone. So I will take the blame for the letter and the rearranging of the agenda. Moving on, amendments to the agenda. Is there any agenda amendments, additions, or deletions? Hearing none, I will take a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Don't know that we have one here. But before we go to the presentations and reports, I'm going to have staff, David, you're going to actually play the video. We have a video that I want to sort of play before we go to the Senior Citizens Gala recognition of the folks that did that, just to give everybody sort of a sense of what took place, because it was done very, very quickly, and it was very, very nice. Oh, I'm sure it does. For those that didn't attend, you missed quite an event. And the number of people it took to actually put that together will probably never really be known. But the committee that did, and I will have Mrs. Green, if she'll come to the microphone and talk a little bit about who all the organizations, and I'm going to have each committee, I have a list of committee members that I'll go through. But it was a fabulous event and in such a short time frame.
Okay.
I guess so.
Good evening. The 18th Annual Senior Gala was held on December the 13th, 2019, at Caroline High School Red Gym. There were approximately 350 guests from area churches, the Caroline County Rehab Center, and the community in attendance. The guests were escorted in by the Caroline JROTC, and the catering was prepared by the culinary department. The seniors retreated with individual photos. There were 385 pictures taken and 488 printed out because there were some group pictures. Staff from the public high school, Caroline County Public High School, made this a very special event. We like to include the youth at the high school because the seniors enjoyed interacting with the youth. They show them respect and they interact with them. So it was a terrific gala with lots of fun for all, and we hope to continue this event. Before you is a report of the expenses, and we did have some money left over. We would like to make a request at this time that we buy round tables. That is probably the rental of the tables and chairs is the most expensive item in our budget, next to the cost of the dinner. Because we only had 350 and not 500 people, that cut down on the expense this year. So we checked with Town Hall, who used round tables, and they purchased our round tables from Uline. So if the board would entertain a request from us to use the balance of the money to purchase those tables, it would help us in cutting down on the rental expenses. Now, will the Senior Gala Committee come forward?
I was going to read the names of the
Okay.
folks that I have, if that's okay.
That's fine.
I have Chandra Adkins, Sarah Calverick, Jadine Davis, Mr. Fox, I don't see, Mrs. Green, Shamika Baker Latney, way in the back, Shawanda Minor, L.J. Moyer, Jesse Rollins, Sharika Twiner, I see way in the back, Michelle Wright, and Pat Wright. And before we go any further, I'd just like to read the resolution, Mrs. Green, and then we'll continue.
Okay.
This is a resolution of appreciation for, and then each member has one, for their work in helping to restore the Caroline County Senior Citizens Gala. Whereas for many years, the Caroline County Senior Citizens Gala was the highlight in the lives of hundreds of county senior citizens during the Christmas season and provided much anticipated opportunity for fellowship, holiday cheer, and glad tidings for all. And whereas in 2016, the gala went on a hiatus for a period of 3 years because of the time commitment and effort required to organize the event. And whereas due to the hard work, dedication, and enthusiasm of a special group of volunteers, including Cynthia Green, and each of your names will be there, but just to give you an idea what this says, the Caroline County Senior Gala was reborn on December 13th, 2019 at the Caroline High School. And whereas in 2019, the gala was a tremendous success and hundreds of Caroline County senior citizens were once again able to enjoy this wonderful event and be recognized for their importance to the community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Caroline County Board of Supervisors hereby expresses its deep gratitude and appreciation to the members for their work in helping to bring back the beloved tradition of Caroline County Senior Citizens Gala and returning a night of joy to the lives of so many of the county's senior citizens. I want to thank everybody that actually put this together. Yeah.
Before you go, it's funny how we're all tied up together, and I asked Jeff if I could say something before you came up. Mrs. Green and I were at a wake. Somebody had passed away, and we were sitting there together, and we said, wouldn't it be nice if the Senior Citizens Gala came back? I said, do you think you can do it? And she said, I think I can, but I'm going to need a lot of help. I didn't think she could do it, but you guys helped. and you brought back a great event. So thank you all. Cynthia, thank you so much.
Dawn.
And I will make sure Mrs. Derricott knows that her loss was the county's gain in a small way. So we do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
If you could all come up, we're going to do a picture up here. You think down there, Don? Well, we were going to close this and do it in this corner where we traditionally do it with the flags, if that's okay. You can line us up.
Move 3 steps to the left, 3 steps to the right.
Next, under presentations, is the Caroline County Recovery Center. And for those that don't know, this is an organization that, again, helps folks in the county with substance abuse problems that has been a tremendous benefit in many, many families' lives, not just the individuals. So if you want to come on down. I couldn't decide who was doing this tonight. It was you or if it was Dave.
Oh, well, good evening, and I'm very honored to be here tonight. And my name is Lainey Walton, and I am the program director at Caroline Recovery Center. I know Ms. Hall has passed out some packets to you prior with some information. Our summary report for the fourth quarter of 2019, our board of directors, and some testimonial letters. And I really just wanted to come before you today to have a face to the names and to introduce. I do have the rest of us here if you'd like to meet them.
Sure.
Okay. So we have our executive director, Tom Majeski, and we have Leslie Phillips. She is our office manager. She's also a peer recovery specialist certified through the state and there to help our participants in all the ways they need. It's just the three of us, but I have to say we do have some volunteers, and I guess we really do a lot more than our titles. We do whatever we need to do to make it work, right? And so I want to thank you. I want to thank each of you for supporting Caroline Recovery Center. I came here in 2017 to volunteer, and I'm still here. Because this is a special town, and I've fallen in love with it, and I've fallen in love with helping those who suffer from this disease of drug addiction, alcoholism. Each one of us is a peer recovery specialist. Nobody works with us or volunteers for us without that. It's proven that that is the best way to help other sick and suffering addicts and alcoholics, is by those who have made it work and stayed sober. And one of the things that we are doing that we're up to, so I came in 2017, and then in 2018, in July, we became our own nonprofit because we actually kind of came in on the wings of another program. So it was run through McShin, and then we separated, and we became Caroline Recovery Center, nonprofit, 2018, in July of 2018, and we're very proud of that. And so we've been in the trenches, working diligently. I wanted to share with you some of the things that we're doing. We have a new side to our center, which is mind, body, spirit, which we find is a deeper immersion into their recovering lives. And we actually share a space with Harvey Latney, who I'm very fond of. And he's very patient, very kind to us because we've taken the backside of his office, right? Well, we rent the backside. And that has been such a great experience. I'm watching them, I say them, the participants come in. You would never think, you'd see people that would never do yoga, totally thrilled about getting on the mat and starting to recover in the body, right? Or recovering through art. These aren't things we can do in the main building. There's so much going on there. So this is really exciting to us and exciting to me personally. We're kind of outgrowing ourselves, but we're working within the limits of our budget. I know you can see that in this amazing graph that my husband made. Totally could not have done that myself. I have to give him credit. Something was already mentioned tonight about the families. I'm seeing miracles every day. I see miracles in individual lives. I'm watching them get it. I can't tell you what that means to me, to have a front row seat to somebody who was void of the desire to live, go into their lives and begin to be, not only sober, but active members and healthy members of the community. These miracles are amazing, right? But I didn't know I was going to see families recover. The whole the families are coming to us. The families come to our events. And we see it throughout the generation. So it's just, I want to thank you so much for this opportunity to be here. I take it very seriously. I don't normally come out in, places like this. I really am in the trenches with them. And I think that's where God has called me to be. Now, I was a paralegal for a time. Some of you know Carolyn Seckley. She's on our board. I loved that job, but I love this one more. I mean, if you compare it, maybe from Yale to jail, I just absolutely love what I'm doing. And I know that this is where each of us wants to be. I'm hoping that in the future, we do get some more funding. I think we can do a lot more. We can hire a couple more people. I don't know what that's going to look like. Maybe we hire a grant writer, and that we get those grants coming in. We're trying to figure that out. And for the sake of this upcoming event, this polar plunge, I wanted to say it's been exciting to start to be in the community experiences, because we haven't been able to do that yet. We've just been trying to get our wheels going. So Leslie has our first billboard, so I wanted to show you. Oh, yay, plunge into recovery. And then on the back it says Caroline Recovery Center. That's kind of a major delight for me personally, but and we will be there too, freezing our little selves off. But we raised $1,000. It's our first time. We're going to we're diving in, literally and figuratively. And so I guess, thank you. I wanted to come and say thank you. We wanted to come and say thank you. And if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer.
Ms. Walton,
Yes.
who's plunging?
No, myself,
Okay.
Leslie, and my husband. What do you want?
Does he know he's plunging?
Well, he does now.
Excellent.
And we have a couple of other of our participants and volunteers going.
Look forward to seeing y'all there. Hoping for good weather.
Yes, I hope so too.
Really, you only have to have one person take the dive in.
No, I
From
think
your
more the
group.
merrier. is generally the concept.
You just want company.
Does it count? Like, can you just put a toe in? Because I'd be.
Oh, no, you got to go up to at least to your neck.
Oh, okay, good to know.
That's the only way to warm the lake up. Mr. Black?
Ms. Walton, I thank you for sharing that. We really appreciate you being part of the plunge. I did think, I heard in the back room, Mr. Thomas just in his opening board comments said that he was really appreciative of the plunge and that he was not going to be able to be there. So you guys are always looking for money. I think Mr. Thomas would like to donate to your organization, right, Mr. Thomas? So, I think that's what he had said.
Okay.
So,
We'd be happy to accept that.
Any other board members? I will say that I have talked with Caroline Recovery Center at the county fair and other events over time, and you all really are doing a lot of outreach, which I do appreciate, and I hope that that does actually encourage family members to get those in their family who have those types of issues, the ability to talk to you and get them into some sort of recovery. But thank you for all your outreach, and I know Mr. Black is always looking for polar bear plungers because, again, they're trying to warm up the lake, so thank you.
Mr. Seeley,
Well,
I have one
thank
other.
you.
Oh.
Ms. Walton,
Yes.
are y'all selling those sweatshirts by chance?
No, not yet.
All right. That was
Good
just-
idea.
It was just a curiosity. Thank you.
Wow, yeah, we can if you want.
Thank you for coming this evening, and
Thank
thank
you.
you for all the work that you have done and will continue to do.
Thank you so much.
Sharika Twiner, YMCA.
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor
Good evening.
and Mr. Chairman and Vice Chair. I am Sharika Twiner, and I thank you all for giving me the opportunity to come and speak with you all this evening to update you on the Caroline Family YMCA and the impact we're having in Caroline County. I really just wanted to touch base with you all regarding our outreach programs. There are several things that we've been doing and working with several organizations in the county, such as CCPS, Polar Bear Plunge Organization, Caroline's Promise, the Senior Gala, Lake Lander for trash pickup. So we've really been fortunate to have these organizations in the community welcome us into the fold and give us the opportunity to serve the constituents of Caroline. I've been lucky enough to sit down and meet with a couple of you as well as attend some of your constituents' meetings. So I look forward to being able to do that in the future to get the message and the mission of the YMCA out to the people of Caroline. One of our big impact programs is Bright Beginnings. And I think you all have an impact sheet with information as far as the numbers that we've been able to serve in the past 5 years. Do you all have that? Yes, okay. So some of our impact programs, like I mentioned, is Bright Beginnings. And we have been fortunate enough to be able to serve, since 2016, the number has gone to 230 students. So we are looking forward to that opportunity again this summer. And that's a program where we take approximately 60 of the county's children back to school shopping. Several of you and your spouses or significant others have volunteered. So we look forward to that continued program. We take children shopping to the Ashland Walmart, as well as give them a backpack full of supplies to prepare them for a successful school year and give them the sense of inclusion to start their year off properly. So again, I welcome all of you to come and volunteer and help with that program. Another program that we're proud to discuss is our second grade Learn to Swim program. Since that has started in 2019 to 2020, that school year, we will help about 340 second graders learn water safety. So it's a 6-week program that we conduct at the YMCA. It becomes part of their PE rotation, and the school system partners with us to provide transportation, and the children come and learn life-saving skills in the water. So again, we're always looking for volunteers for that program as well. We work with organizations such as the high school nursing program to give them volunteer hours so those students come. So it really is a community project that is directly saving lives of the children of Caroline County. And in 2018 to 19, we serviced approximately 350 second graders. Another thing that we're proud to discuss is the fact that we are able to supply financial assistance to families in Caroline County. In 2019, we provided $84,365 in financial assistance. That comes in the manner of membership fees, programs for children who want to attend basketball clinics, swim lessons, before and after school programs, so we are able to help families provide a safe, nurturing environment for their children. In 2018, we supplied $6,445. So as our membership numbers increase, we are able to help fund the families as that increases that need financial assistance. Another program that we're proud to talk about is our Summer Learning Loss program. That has happened for the past 2 years, where we were able to focus on second graders who were on the bubble as far as a learning need for the summer, so they would come to our program. We were able to service about 21 students last year, and we really focused primarily on reading in that program. They attended the middle school, and they had a program with the YMCA, and in that program they learned about 2.5 months. They earned about 2.5 months of reading. While that program was successful, we have been doing another program in surrounding counties, which is referenced the Power Scholars program. And so we are here today to talk to you a little bit about that program as well, to say that last year we helped 21 students with the Power Scholars program, and partnering with Caroline County Public Schools, we would be able to increase that number to approximately 175 students. And I think you all have a packet on the Power Scholars program. We had a nice video for you, but it's my understanding that you cannot access YouTube in here, so I apologize that we're not able to show that. But through our partnership with Caroline County, oh, you have the program? Oh, okay. I think he has the PowerPoint, but, oh, you have the video? Yeah. Oh, great. So if you want to kind of turn and look at that video, then I'll continue to speak with you.
half of a day is their academic portion. So they're with their teachers, like the actual teachers that teach here. Then they go to the enrichment part next, which is like we have sports, photography.
They do art, they do STEM, they do sports, they do
Health and wellness, and then it covers those like core academic subjects like math and reading.
So in Power Scholars, we also try to instill in the children some of our character values such as caring, honesty, respect, and responsibility.
The students that come to the YMCA Power Scholars program are our students that need the most resources. These students sometimes don't have enough to eat over the summer. There are some children who don't even have electricity, and a lot of these children are academically at risk.
They get fed very well, they get fed breakfast, they get fed lunch, they get fed snack in the afternoon, they get free transportation to and from, and select groups of the kids are going to be able to go before school starts shopping so they can get supplies and clothing for them.
Power Scholars makes the kids want to come to school. Our attendance is really high, and that's a good feeling to know that every child wants to be here. We never hear, I want to go home because I don't want to be here.
On Fridays, we also send all the children on field trips.
They are all over Virginia and having a blast and just be kids and experience life.
The University of Mary Washington, it could be to one of our banks, such as the here in WC.
They also get to come to our water park. They even had a field trip to waste management to learn about recycling and what waste management does in our community. At the end of these 5 weeks, there's lots of tears because we've made such strong relationships. They're already saying, I love this program, I can't wait to come back for next year. Are you going to be here, Miss Crystal? What type of things are we going to be doing next year? And I think that's what it's all about. It's just like giving them an opportunity to learn and thrive in an environment that supports all of that.
The impact that the YMCA is making on all the children's lives. I think it's just an amazing amount of effort that goes into pulling all this stuff together. I had no idea.
And I personally am committed to make sure that all of these at-risk students have this opportunity. It's just about promise.
We really need to be able to get more funding for this program. It does not cost the parents anything for their child to attend the program. So having the community reach out to the community and get those community partners and even private donors, it really helps us to go a long way. We are hoping to be able to grow the programs in some of the other schools as well, and not just do it at one school for each county, but trying to put it into 2 or 3, even more schools.
We get more money, we get more children, we're going to be more successful. So as they start school, these children will remember that they are ready to learn. They're going to know that they know the answer to the question. They're going to be able to pick up that book and read. And most importantly, that they've had a summer full of amazing experiences because an organization cared and because people cared about those that were at risk and making sure that they had the best summer ever. Because it really is about all of us coming together. That's the magic. That's what makes this program what it is for children that otherwise would lose over the summer.
So just to speak again to our focus areas, while we're focused on healthy living, social responsibility, through the volunteer opportunities, community involvement like trash pickup, our biggest part of our mission is youth development. We recognize that through youth development and providing healthy and safe atmospheres for the children of Caroline County, we can better improve the future of those children as well as our county. So this program is a 5-day program. It is an all-day program. The children receive academic as well as enrichment, which is half part of the day. They will receive breakfast and lunch as well as snacks. So what our statistics show is that we have a 93% attendance rate in this program, which is extremely high, as well as students learn an average of 3 months reading and 2.5 months in math. These are children that otherwise over the summer, their statistics would drop and they would be playing catch up at the first part of the year. So this program we feel is going to be instrumental to the success of students in grades K through 5, and we are excited about the opportunity to work with Caroline Public Schools to start this program in Caroline. Through surrounding counties, we've been able to help 321 students. That's in Fredericksburg, King George, and Spotsylvania. And that is primarily because of the curriculum that is offered in this program, which is a fact-based curriculum. So students get tested before and after the program. So with that being said, one of the reasons that we're here this evening is to request $20,000 from the Board of Supervisors to support this program in the form of curriculum. At this time, I'll take any questions that you have. And I may refer to our subject matter expert on this program, Elizabeth Taylor. She is the one who has been responsible for rolling it out in the other counties. With this being new to Caroline, I will be extremely involved in the rollout of this program as far as being on site, working with teachers, Y staff, as well as the students, so that I can become more familiar and be an integral part in the success of the program.
Thank you. One of the interesting things we learned this evening in our school joint session is that the General Assembly is in the process of raising minimum wage to what we're thinking legislation initially may
Yes.
be is $10. Do we have, what is the line in the sand where we could look at budget numbers, because we're just starting down that path now to see what the impact would be? When do you have to have the commitment from us?
The program, we would like to have it start this summer for our students. So we would like to have a commitment from you within the next month, because we do have to get staff trained on the curriculum. So actually, if we could discuss it this evening, that would be great, because again, we would have to send the teachers from the school to be trained, and all of them need to be versed, as well as work on the lesson plans for the summer.
Okay.
Mr. Seeley, if I may.
Mr. Black?
Before we get to the whole power scholar thing,
Yes.
I do want to thank you guys, a number of reasons. I had the opportunity every fall to do that Bright Beginnings. There's certain things in this county that we do, we're all into. My heart's into the polar bear plunge, and everyone, I know all the different supervisors have something that they, but that program right there, the Bright Beginnings, when we go shopping in August, I really think that every supervisor should try to do it. It is, you're paired up with a student, and you take them shopping for school supplies and so forth. It is a really powerful and awesome program that the YMCA does to help the students in Caroline. So thank you for doing that. I think that's the Stuff of the Backpack program plus the Bright Beginnings. When you go and you see the needs and so forth, it's really kind of it's really a powerful experience. I don't think Sheree can come up here and talk about it, and unless you actually do it, you don't really understand what it's like to be part of it. So thank you for that, and also thank you for the trash pickup, partnering with Lake Landor. We picked up about 4 miles worth of road, 4 to 5 miles worth of road from Madison Elementary all the way to Sassafras Shade Winery. So it was a great stretch of road, and we had, between the two of us, I think we had like 28 volunteers doing it, and it took us a matter of each organization was it got it done in a couple hours,
Yeah.
pretty much, yeah.
And
so
over
it
40
looked-
bags, over 40 bags of trash.
It looked, we had close to 50 bags of trash,
Yeah.
and it was excellent for the community. It looked great after it was done. Lots of thank yous from everyone. So we wouldn't have been able to do that with the YMCA. So I think they do a fantastic job before we even talked about the Power Scholars. So thank you.
Thank you. And then just to piggyback on the Bright Beginnings, one of the benefits of Power Scholars is because the children are socioeconomically challenged and identified by the schools, they will also be recognized as attendants for programs like Bright Beginnings, as well as financial assistance to help parents if they need help with before and after school care. So this program is also a way for us to identify children that need help in other areas that the YMCA can help them.
Mrs. Long?
Yes.
I just wanted to ask, it sounds like a wonderful program, and I'm supportive of it, but as far as the selection of the schools, as you see from your demographics here,
Yes, ma'am.
certainly more members are over near the Y
Yes,
than on
ma'am.
my side of the county, but all the schools would be equally.
Yes, ma'am. The way the programs
looked
like
at.
Power Scholars and Bright Beginnings work, and that's something that we take pride in, and we understand that due to the size of our county, it's hard for some people to physically get into our building. So we are here to send a clear message that the impact of the YMCA is not our concrete structure in Ruther Glen. These impact programs allow us to touch everyone in the county, and the students are identified by the schools. So it is all elementary schools that are able to participate in this program.
Thank you.
Just one quick.
Mr. Underwood?
Ms. Twine, I just want to say thank you. We had a chance to talk, and I just really appreciate your enthusiasm and your willingness to really do the hard work, the hard leg work. It takes a lot of work to put things together, and certainly working with Dr. Calveric in the schools. That means a lot to the community, and I really believe this is just fantastic, and certainly, as I told you, anything that I can do, please let me know, because I'm going to support you 1,000%.
Well, thank you very much for the
Thank
support.
you. Is that?
Mr., I heard Mr. Thomas, but I see that Mr. Forehand's got a question.
Is this taking the place of summer school?
Yes, it would be taking the place of summer school. Summer school is currently a half-day program, so this would replace it for all K through 5 students.
K to 5?
Yes.
This will essentially be the county's summer school
Partnering
program.
with the YMCA. So the way it would work is the county would hire the teachers for the academic aspect of it, and then the YMCA staff would come in for the afternoon enrichment.
Okay.
So the schools have a summer school budget, so can we, I would just like to take a look, get our numbers straight, just so that we know what we're looking at, because we got hit with a number of things this evening, and give every time to digest what we got tonight, or earlier this evening. I don't, anybody opposed to looking at that, or?
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, I think she said that they needed to make some decisions within the next month, and certainly, if they're going to go from 31 students to
21.
21 to 175 students, I mean, that in itself, and working with the school, I don't think $20,000 would impact us so much that we can't make a decision tonight.
Okay.
So with that said, I'm going to make a motion that we approve $20,000 to go to the YMCA for the summer scholars.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Before she goes,
Go ahead, Mr. Thomas.
I kind of got caught up by the motion, but I did
I'm
want to
sorry.
say,
I'm sorry.
that's okay. I mean, I'm easy. I did want to say thank you for all of the hard work you're doing, because you are proving that those of us who thought the Y was a good idea, it is definitely a good idea. And I always like to give a shout out. So is that the little star singer that I met last week in the back?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so shout out to the star singer who I heard last Sunday in Fredericksburg.
Yes,
Thank you
and
very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate, yes.
Can I get a question?
Mr. Colley?
We are making, this is as much for the Y and the schools combined. We're going to make an appropriation of $20,000 to the Y.
Yes.
Yeah.
The schools are going to use their summer school money to hire school teachers.
Right.
The $20,000 check to the Y
Yes.
balances out the program on the other side, just so that we're clear where this
Yes,
is
sir.
going.
But
And make
their
sure
program
Curtis
is,
heard that.
their program is K through 5.
Correct.
So if, I don't know if there's a school K through 5 program. There is a
There
school
is.
K
So
through
they
5
just
program.
redirect their money.
Okay.
Just making sure we are all on board. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time this evening.
I would just like to say a few things. First of all, thank you so much for having us out, and I know Sharika has done a tremendous job in the county, and she is so excited, and, you know, she has been the membership director for years since we opened, but we have been in discussions, and I have approval that she will now be the executive director and be leading that, that organization. So she doesn't, this is kind of a, but she will be leading that organization. I've seen the leadership in her. I've seen how she works with the community. She is so excited, and she loves Caroline County. And that's what we need at the Y, someone who loves Caroline County, and I believe we have that in Sharika. So,
Well, congratulations.
Oh, well, thank you guys.
Hopefully there's a pay raise with that.
there is. I made sure of it.
Well, I look forward to working with all of you all in my new capacity. Thank you very much for the support.
Thank you.
I'm going to move to appointments. Mr. Thomas?
Oh, I'm going to move to, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move to table the appointments we have today for broadband and the BZA for Mattapan. Any
Okay.
second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to table.
I'm tabling the 2 appointments.
What's the,
Mr. Underwood.
what's the holdup on the appointments?
Mr. Seeley and I want to meet together, and we haven't been able to make a meeting together for broadband, to kind of get a direction of what citizens will be doing. And for the BZA for Mattapan, I just haven't had person confirmed yet. So that was it. Motion.
I have a
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Consent agenda. It's a big one tonight.
Mr. Chairman, can we pull item A?
Certainly. Item A is out for discussion.
And C was the,
C is the reimbursement of Little League of permit fees not actually used for actual personnel part of the fees. So I have a motion to
okay,
have
question.
pulled A.
Pulling A, just a quick question on C. We were just pulling our costs out.
Correct.
So our cost is $500?
No, that's what we're reimbursing.
So our cost, I thought their fee was like $4,000.
No, it's about 1,200.
So $700 was our actual cost.
Right, the other was
Okay.
permitting fees related to site plans and stormwater.
Okay. The key was to make sure we didn't actually lose money. We were trying to break even at the most. Okay, thank you.
Do I have a motion to accept B and C?
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. We're going to go back to warrants. Mr. Underwood.
I just had a couple of questions, Mr. Chairman. Looking at the first page of our accounts payable, I noticed that we're halfway through the year, and there were a couple items, courthouse maintenance fund, for example, capital projects for utilities, school capital project fund, that were only at 5%, 9% spent in 1 point. Is that just due to billing, Mr. Cullen?
That's,
Accruals or?
it's due to what, some of those projects the courthouse maintenance fund, it just depends on whether it's qualified to be used out of that money or not. So sometimes we budget for things, we haven't made those repairs yet. What was the other one that was low? Capital projects, utilities, yeah, that's a big number, so we haven't spent too much out of, the millions of dollars on that. And, just because we haven't gotten to it. We don't handle that one, so I assume they haven't gotten to those. Schools could probably answer that quicker.
It seems to me that we're halfway through the year, and we ought to see some spending, I would think, or some accrual to that fund, not just, you know what I'm saying?
I understand.
Something should be,
I'd have to ask.
yes, ma'am.
Mr. Underwood, I signed a APO today for the classroom technology, and we have the staff computers coming in. They're already in the process of coming in. The other big one on that is $90,000 for the field house. So we have to do that. We're targeting to do that in May and June, after the seasons have completed for track and field.
Okay, so the field house is separate from what we kind of talked about this evening?
Correct.
In terms of, I just want to make sure. Okay,
The field house is upgrades to the men's and women's restrooms
okay.
and the
So you-
locker rooms.
So you do anticipating on spending the $800,000 roughly by the end of the year?
We do, because the other, over 500,000 of it is the buses, and we're waiting for those to come in.
Okay. So it's
They've already
already
been-
obligated then?
Yeah,
Okay.
they've already been
All right.
ordered.
Okay.
Mr. Underwood, do you want to make a motion?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve consent agenda item A.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion to second, any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Can we take a break?
Before we take our break, I mentioned this to Mr. Cully. We count the school buses as capital improvement items,
Correct,
not really part of their budget.
correct.
Is that-
Capital.
Is that normal?
Yeah, it was an operational budget. Well, I've never included buses in that I've always considered it, all my years of budgeting. Yeah.
Yeah, see, we don't get a fair number of what it costs to run the schools if CIP things like buses are
Well,
out.
we add all that in. I don't know what they report to the state. Even if we put it in and the state doesn't want to see it, it won't go in that report, and I'm pretty sure the schools could to tell you that. But they know the things that we're handling that are eligible to.
But when we
be-
do
we give it
our
to you.
budget and
We
you
give it
do our
to you.
budget presentation.
Oh, yeah, I give it to you within, what it all totals up to, what debt service, everything. Here, I usually, operations, textbook fund, because that's a different fund that we account for, buses, capital improvement fund, that all rolls up, and then debt service is even another number that's
Yeah.
all going toward the total. But operations is that number that funds salaries and employees and all that stuff. But buses has never been mixed in that. It wasn't that way when I got here. Buses were separate when I got here.
Yeah, we were leasing them and not buying them, but I don't
Right.
know if the rest of the board knows, we got like a $5 million debt service number in schools, and was it 14 million we contributed, 15 million we contributed, and we just need everybody to understand what the contribution is and what we need to do. Yeah, and that's all I'm trying to say, so, thank you.
Mrs. Long?
On a side note, I just wanted to thank who's ever responsible for finally getting the printing right, so I don't have to keep flipping this thing up and down to look at it. So staff, whoever reformatted the printing process, thank you.
I was going to suggest we take a break at this point because it's mostly public hearings that we can't start till 7:30. And yeah. All right, so I'm going to call us and recess until 7:30.
Second? Oh,
Don't need a motion.
gotcha.
And anybody who wishes to make public comment is now open. Anyone wishing to speak? Mrs. Rollins.
Good evening, Board Chair and other board members. My name is Jessie Rollins, and I'm from the Mattapanai District. Tonight I come to you as the Caroline Complete Count Committee Chair, 4 Cs, yeah. I'll give you an update. We had a meeting last night, had a wonderful meeting last night. We are researching the cost of banners, yard signs, flyers, and other communication tools to get the word out. Our plans are to have materials in by February in order to get the word out during the month of February. We are working with the library, schools, fire and rescue, the sheriff department, as well as county government to make sure we reach out to our community in every way possible. Census cards will go out in about 5 mailings sometime in March. Around March 12th, the census website will go live. We are creating lists of places in each district to place banners and yard signs. We also want to present information at any event, constituent meeting, church program, community program, anything that we become aware of. So in that vein, I would like to ask you that if you're planning anything, that you get that date and information to me as soon as you have something planned, so that someone on the committee can be there to present information as well as have the written information and be prepared to answer any questions. We want to educate and promote responding to the census by April 1 online, as well as calling the 800 number. I received a phone call today from a senior member of our community asking, how will the census be conducted this year? She lives alone, and she doesn't do the internet, nor does she have any family there to help her. I informed her of the opportunity to call the number that will be listed on the form when she gets it in the mail, that she can call and give her information, and by doing that by April 1, she should not experience anyone coming to her door. The updated information I will send out so that you can post and share on your web pages and in your districts. We all know that any increased funds that come to Caroline will help our community. Any questions?
It's public comment, so I really can't go into
Oh, okay.
questions, but thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak, and I'll make a caveat on an agenda item that is not on the agenda for public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Scott Mosier, Bowling Green District. I personally wanted to say thank you for meeting with the sheriff on the work session coming up for the crisis, as we called it, for the pay inequities that we're dealing with. I want you to know that we have been, over the years, trying to be a good steward of the taxpayers' money. We actually did not start everybody at starting salary that had absolutely no training whatsoever. We started them at a less amount until they got fully trained, and then they went up to the starting salary. That was an effort to save the taxpayers' money. We realize that we have the ability to negotiate salaries, but that in itself causes a whole nother problem for the whole department. But we thank you for meeting us halfway, and we thank you for establishing this work session, and we're really excited about it, and we really appreciate everything you're doing for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else wishing to speak? Last call. Public comment is now closed. We are now going to move into public hearings. Mr. Fincham?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, keep your seats. We'll be here a while.
Not if we can move along.
I'll do my best, as I stated. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, your first public hearing tonight is SPEX 05-2019, Commonwealth Fairs and Events Incorporated owner and T-Mobile Northeast LLC the applicant. requesting a special exception permit in accordance with Article 17, Section 13, and Article 11, Division 6, Section 3.13 of the Caroline County zoning ordinance on a portion of tax map 100-A-2 containing approximately 1 acre in area. The property is located at 14,020 Dawn Boulevard, Doswell, in the Reedy Church District. The proposed use is for a 160-foot telecommunications tower and ground equipment. The 2030 comprehensive plan designates this area as rural preservation. The applicants are requesting a special exception approval for a 160-foot tall monopole power tower and support equipment on the south side of Route 30 on the Commonwealth Fair and Events property. The proposed location of the tower is just southwest of the intersection of Route 30 and 652, near the last access road into the parking area on the south side of the property. The applicant has stated that the existing towers in the area have a maximum number of co-locations already, i.e. antennas, and that there's no additional space in the area. The proposed tower would provide additional co-location opportunities and address cellular needs of intense usage during the State Fair event. In June of 2019, the Board of Supervisors approved a text amendment that allowed cell towers in the planned recreation and entertainment district, which this property is zoned. Included in your staff report is a map which shows the area of existing towers within vicinity of Meadow Event Park. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on this request. There were 2 speakers in opposition, predominantly citing the existence and number of towers in the area, as well as health concerns related to the radio frequencies of the towers. The Planning Commission ultimately did forward this to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation of approval, subject to the conditions in the report.
Thank you, Mr. Fincham. I will say that at least in my district, if there was somebody wanting to put a cell tower up, I don't think anybody would dare get in the way. I mean, I'm constantly asked when the next one's going up and who will be on it. So hearing that, I will open the public hearing on special exception 05219 Commonwealth Fairs and Events Incorporated, owner T-Mobile Northeast LLC applicant. Anyone wishing to speak?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening. Can you
Members of the
give me
board.
name and district?
John Hudson from Reedy Church District. And I'm just really curious of why that antenna would be necessary down there when right adjacent or across the river from Meadow Event, Hanover County has a water treatment plant and a 911 system tower that's 400 feet tall. It overlooks that area by, I think it's about 800 meters from the intersection of Route 30 and Route 652. And they have plenty of space on that tower, and they will lease space on that tower. So saying that there is no space on the towers there is not exactly correct, because there's another tower too at the intersection of between Route 1 and 95 and Route 30 that has space on it also. And the last tower there is the Mount Gideon Road tower that's 300 feet. And that's within about a mile. I think I calculated it's like a mile and a half from Route 30 and Route 652. So I don't understand why it's necessary to put another tower, one 160 feet tall with a blinking light on it, in a rural preservation district again. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the fair have any comment? Okay. Anybody else wishing to speak? I understand. And I understand that the T-Mobile representative has got the flu, so I'm glad they didn't show up, because that's not what we all need. Anybody else wishing to speak? Anybody else wishing to speak? The public comment period is now closed. Comments, questions from the board?
Question for Mr. Fincham, and I'm not sure if he's got the answer, but all of the different towers that Mr. Hudson mentioned,
Yes, sir.
they are not T-Mobile, are they?
Not necessarily.
So they could be Verizon or AT&T. They don't necessarily, different vendors don't necessarily share towers?
Most vendors, from our experience, will share a tower, hence the co-location opportunities,
Right.
provided it doesn't interfere with their service. Aside from that, you also had the Telecommunications Act that was recently adopted by Congress, which significantly limits our ability to regulate towers, and actually prohibits us from regulating towers based on co-location opportunities or anything like that. So while we still have the special exception process in place for towers, of a certain height, the Telecommunications Act basically has taken away many of the standards that we had in our ordinance related to these towers.
Yeah, I hadn't mentioned that part, but you basically reminded us that the federal government has basically said that localities have to say yes to towers, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mrs. Long?
Mr. Fincham, the report says that made the statement there is no space on the other towers, and I'm just curious, was that ever verified, or do we know that to be true? Thinking of what the gentleman said.
What I can tell you is that the county's telecommunications consultant, George Condoleezza, through Atlantic Technologies, did indicate that his support for the application and stated that the tower was needed.
What is the maximum height before we can do away with the light?
Typically, lights are not required. I believe it is anything over 199 feet in height, and they are well below, they're 30 feet below that.
So can we do away with the light for the neighborhood?
Sure, you could add the condition that there will be no lighting unless required by FAA, which would be the standard that would, the agency that would require the lighting.
Aren't they required?
But
Isn't that an FAA thing, though, Mike?
No.
Yeah, 199 is FAA. This is 160, so no, yeah, I know.
And unless, and again, it's an FAA question, depends on flight path and all kinds of other parameters for that. But, I mean, it's definitely something that could be asked. Yeah, airport.
Hopefully a plane wouldn't be down that low.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and the interesting thing about altitude is altitude's based on sea level, not necessarily terrain. So you have to be careful when you say that. But I mean, it's something I think could be
I mean,
investigated if the light is
It
the
is a rural
issue.
preservation area, and if it's not needed, I was trying to be polite to consider it to the neighbors around, and if it's not needed, then it's not needed, but if it's something that needs to be there for safety, then fine.
The FAA would have to weigh
But I don't know
in.
enough about it to figure it out. That's why I have you,
So you're asking for it to not be there unless it's required?
unless it's required.
Well, right, and that would have to be an FAA question, but I'm sure it's something we can get an answer to.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Mr. Underwood?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea that once we find out if there is indeed no additional space for co-location, then I think Nancy's, Mr. Long's point is well taken, that if we can do without the light, then I think that would at least give some level of comfort, but maybe not much, but I do think it's needed. And I would make a motion based on, if there are no other comments.
A motion's always in order.
I would make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we approve special exception 2019, with the condition that if we can remove the light from the top of the tower, then we do so.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Next on the agenda, Mr. Fincham, Special Exception 07-2019, Star Management Corporation, owner TKC, and I guess that's a Roman numeral. It looks like 262.
Don't look at me for help.
We can do two together.
So we can do, okay, both of,
7 and 8 together. They're related to the Highway Corridor Overlay District.
do they need to be voted on separately?
Yes, sir.
Voted on separately, okay.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, your next public hearing, two public hearings, SPX 07 and 08 2019, are for Star Management Corporation owner and TKC CCLXII LLC applicant, requesting a special exception permit in accordance with Article 17, Section 13, and Article 15, Sections 15.6.1 and 15.6.2 of the Caroline County zoning ordinance on tax parcels 52-A130D and 52-A-140, a portion of each of those, containing approximately 3.57 acres. Property is located on Jeff Davidson Highway across from the intersection of Route 622, which is Durrett Road, in the Madison voting district. The proposed request is for modification to the Highway Corridor Overlay District regulations to allow approximately a 270-foot front setback where the Highway Corridor Overlay District specifies a 20 to 50-foot setback. The second request is to Section 15.7.B2 of the same Highway Corridor Overlay District regulations. That request is to allow a modification of the regulations to allow parking and display of goods in a required front yard. So you have two requests. One is to move the required setback further back. The second request is then within that required setback to allow parking and display of goods within that yard area. Both of those items can be modified subject to the granting of a special exception permit from the Board of Supervisors. You have in your packet a site plan which has been prepared for the proposed retail use of the property. It's a well-known retail establishment that is actually specified on the architecturals of said site plan. The zoning approval would allow the placement of this retailer on that, what will be a corner lot, which will ultimately allow the extension of Durrett Road as the property is developed over to Center Drive and ultimately back out to Route 639 near the I-95 interchange. Planning Commission held a public hearing on these requests and forwarded both items to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation of approval.
Any questions from the board before I open the public hearing?
We'll have an opportunity for questions after, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm going to open this public hearing for Special Exception 07-2019, Star Management Corporation owner, TK LLC applicant, and also on Special Exception 08-2019, also with Star Management. Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Mr. Carter.
Members of the board, I'm Danny Carter, live in Mr. Black's district over in West Carolina. I'm here on behalf of Star Management, the owner of the property that is asking or will be impacted by the special exception. The air position in this is that if we can get the special exception, we have an opportunity to put a very nice, well-recognized business in our community. I think the community and the county as a whole would be very excited about seeing them there. The Highway Overlay District has always been a little bit of a thorn to me, but when you get in development, because of the impact that it has, not only on setbacks, but also on architectural standards and things of this nature. But I would encourage y'all to approve both of these special exceptions, and in doing this, it will, we're full steam ahead right now in getting this project started, meaning if we can get through DEQ and Army Corps and wetland issues, we certainly will be under construction in a short period of time. So once again, I would encourage y'all to approve both of those things, and I'm very excited about what this will bring to our county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Wendy Fulton from the applicant TKC 262. I just wanted to introduce myself. We are the contract purchaser of the lot. So if it is approved, we would be purchasing the lot to construct the retail store for Tractor Supply Company and be their landlord. Here, if you have questions at the time that that's appropriate, I'm willing to answer any about their use if you're not familiar with it, or if you would like a brief overview of the store. Or is that later?
You can do that now. This is the applicant's time to.
Okay. So Tractor Supply is a farm and ranch supply store. They target selling to hobby farmers, people who have animals, horses. They do a lot of pet supply business. They don't sell the tractors, but they sell all the parts that you can do to work on the tractor, and sell lawnmowers, things like you would see on the display area in the front, kind of like at a Home Depot or a Lowe's, with it kind of changes seasonally, but trailers that you pull behind a truck, like a box trailer, and farm equipment, the
Three-point hitch.
Three-point hitch equipment that goes behind the tractors, thank you. And then fencing, watering troughs, those type things are the outside items that are
I
big
think
and bulky.
everybody up here knows who you are. I don't
Okay.
think that's a problem at all.
All right, well, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else? Hearing none, public hearing is now closed. Board members, questions? I was going to start, my only real concern is there's over 4,000 square feet of outdoor display, which just seemed like a lot when I looked at the site plan. It's more than anything else we've got. I guess that was my only real thought in looking at the whole plan.
Yes, sir. Most of that display is actually to the south side of the building. There's a little display area along, and I'm going to use this term loosely, future direct road extension, okay, between the road and the building. And there's a little display area in the front of the building, but the majority of the display area will be parallel to the building and to the south towards the Route 639 intersection. The other counter to the additional parking and storage is a well-detailed and defined landscape plan. In granting this recommendation, there's a condition in there that the final landscape plan actually has to come back to the Planning Commission for their approval. So we want to encourage the development of the retail and make this site work for them. But as part of that, the county also wants an enhanced landscape plan because some of the requirements related to the parking to the side and the rear is design consideration to mitigate the visual impacts of these parking areas. We wanted to offset the granting of the modification with the additional landscaping to help soften that visual impact.
Because I was just looking, and the parking area, there's a 983 square feet, 1,223 square feet, 390 square feet, 870 square feet of all outdoor display, and then down the other side is another 3,000 square feet.
Yes, sir. If you go to most Tractor Supplies that are standalone facilities like this, you will see, and I'm sure you're familiar with them, they have a lot of outdoor equipment, lawnmowers,
Chicken coops,
trailers, things like that.
round bell holders,
Okay.
a little bit of everything.
Yes,
Water
sir.
troughs.
Because that's where the site is. Other questions? Mr. Forehand?
Quick question, the monument sign, do they have a plan where that would go? I don't see that on the.
It's not on there, but they can, it can go anywhere on their property, and if they own the stormwater pond, it can actually go out near the intersection of Route 1.
Okay. And I don't have any problem with the frontage setbacks. I would much prefer this with the enhanced landscaping than just down the road. We're looking at the heating and air conditioning units literally right beside the road at the new development, and that maybe that's going to get screened off eventually, but it hasn't made it there yet. But you know, that's just a preference, and like I said, I like what I see in their sketches. So.
Mr. Fincham, you know, my big thing is tires. So is there a condition that tires will not be stored outside?
There's no conditions, but they're not doing repairs there. They're a retail facility.
So no tires will be
So
stored outside?
you're not going to have a used tire.
It's just there are a lot of residential homes around there, and we don't need a mosquito haven and, you know, health hazards. So
Yes, ma'am.
nothing will be stored outside that's going to upset me when I come by and go shopping.
We will make sure that that is taken care of.
Thank you.
Mr. Forehand?
I see the 27-foot future dedication. Is there any requirement for them to build a sidewalk in front of their property like we have other places?
Full frontage improvements are required related to any transportation improvement, so there is a sidewalk strip that would be part of that. Yes, sir.
Does that mean we're getting the land, but are we actually getting the sidewalk in front of this parcel?
We will get a sidewalk with improvements. Yes, sir.
Because my master plan at some point will be to have a sidewalk on that side of the street, connecting all the little pieces of sidewalk that are there.
Our master plans have it on both sides of the street.
Okay,
So
I'll be happy with one at this point.
I understand.
Any other questions? Mr. Forehand, your district?
I'll go ahead and make a motion. We,
Do one at a time, please.
say again?
Do one at a time.
Yes, we adopt SPX 07-2019.
Second.
As presented,
As presented. There's no amendments that we,
there are no additional
Discussed.
amendments. Mr. Fincham, it's as presented.
As presented, yes, sir.
as presented.
Mr. Black, as presented.
Yes, second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
And I would make a motion, we adopt SPX 08-2019 also as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you, and we're looking forward to Tractor Supply, and thank you. Mr. Fincham, SPX 09-2019, Ladysmith Professional Building.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, your next public hearing is SPEX 09-2019 Ladysmith Professional Building LLC, care of Star Management owner, Keys Academy, applicant. They're requesting a special exception permit in accordance with Article 17, Section 13, and Article 9, Section 3.4 of the Caroline County zoning ordinance on tax parcel 52D-2-15, which contains approximately 3.7 acres of land. The property is located at 8051 Prosperity Way, Ruther Glen, in the Madison voting district. The proposed use is a training center for handicapped persons. The 2030 comprehensive plan designates this property as being within the Ladysmith Community Plan as community business. As previously stated, the applicant is requesting a special exception permit for a training center for handicapped persons in what is the Ladysmith Professional Building, located in Star Management's property in the Ladysmith Business Park. The proposed application would allow the completion of the second floor of that building to house Keys Academy. Keys Academy schools are private day coeducational schools licensed by the Commonwealth of Virginia to serve special education students in grades K through 12 who have various classifications of disabilities. There are currently 3 Keys Academy schools in operation in Virginia, in Culpeper, Charlottesville, and Augusta. The Academy offers services which provide tools for students to mature socially, emotionally, and academically. This location of Keys Academy is proposed to serve the counties of Caroline, Hanover, Spotsylvania, King William, King George, King and Queen, and Essex. If the board recalls, the board actually has seen a request for this permit, and the board authorized an expedited public hearing on this application. The Planning Commission did hold its public hearing at its January 23rd meeting and forwarded this application to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation of approval subject to the conditions in your staff report.
Any questions before the public hearing? At this time, I will open the public hearing for special exception 09-2019 Ladysmith Professional Building LLC, Star Management, owner, Keys Academy, applicant. That is the applicant, I take it.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Robin Puryear with Keys Academy. Thank you for allowing us to be here this evening, and I know y'all have had a long evening, so we'll keep this short. We do have 3 Keys Academies right now in the Commonwealth of Virginia. This would be our 4th. Our mission statement is above, to provide a learning experience that allows students to realize their unique potential with safety, dignity, and direction. Empowering them, we use a very unique social and emotional curriculum to help support our students. Our students are kindergarten through 12th grade, kindergarten through 12th grade, ages 5 through 22. We can do some post-secondary students when needed. You see everything up there, 5 main disability categories that we serve. We work with students that are able to do part of their instruction through online computerized instruction, and part that looks more traditional, like you might see in any classroom. We really, our purpose is to serve local community needs. We go where there are no private day placements in a geographic area to help bring the schools closer to the communities. All of our students are placed through IEP team decisions through the local public schools, and we have been in talking with Caroline County Public Schools for the last couple months about this project. Our students have often been in multiple placements before they come to us. It's due to their disability. Sometimes they experience a lot of failure before they come to us, and we want to make sure we have a program where we teach them what success feels like, and we build on that. 3 schools, the one to the left is our first school in Culpeper County. Top right is in Charlottesville City. Bottom right is in Augusta County. As you can see, they all look very different, just depending on the facilities that are available to us in the county. Our classrooms are bright, appealing, and look like many classrooms. You'll notice a high level of technology that we do utilize. Beyond that, they look like most classrooms could. And there is the Ladysmith Professional Building. We propose to occupy the second floor of this. The counties served, we have spoken with most of these counties about the possibility of serving their student needs. So the timeline is to hopefully open in July with serving students in August when the Caroline County Public School calendar begins. Our initial license would be for 24 students in the first year and increase that to 32 the second year. We would also move our Business and Operations Department to Caroline County. You see the essential staff to open the school listed. We would provide all core academic programs, kindergarten through 12th grade. Again, heavy emphasis on our social emotional learning curriculum. It's a standard 180-day school year with a 6-week summer ESY program, and our staff to student ratio is 1 to 3. That's just a whole lot of training that we do in order to meet Virginia Department of Education criteria as well as the Virginia Association of Independent Special Education Facilities criteria, which is our accrediting body. And that's it. Thank you.
Actually, I have a quick, can she take questions now, or?
I'm still at the public hearing open, so anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else wishing to speak? Mr. Carter, again. You're on a roll tonight.
Well, Star Management's been busy. I would like to take the opportunity to encourage the approval of the special exception for Keys Academy. I've worked very closely with Robin over the last 4 or 5 months, kind of fine-tuning what they need to have in place as far as floor plan, as far as classrooms and what have you. And also had the opportunity to drive to Culpeper to visit one of their schools to see what it looked like in operation, and I was impressed. I mean, you have children that are not functioning well in a huge environment with other kids, and they take them into a much smaller environment. And I looked also at the staff that was there at the school and how they interacted with the kids, and I was once again quite impressed. Star Management is we are prepared to go ahead and do the build out on this building. From a county business viewpoint, it's pretty exciting because this building was built, I'm somewhere around 2007, 2008. There's 8,800 square feet in that second floor. 3,700 was built out, and it's been leased, I think, twice for a couple of years at a time. And by putting Keys Academy in place, we are going to have a very viable business that will occupy all of the second floor and all 8,800 square feet. It also have employment opportunities for approximately 15 people. And so therefore it creates a tax base that's good for the county and employment base. And it also gives us a very viable and dependable tenant as well. But I do wish that y'all would go ahead and get this approved, and then we'll get to working diligently to get the build out in place so that they can have the building be up and operating by July 1. And I do appreciate your time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else wishing to speak? Last call. Anyone else? Hearing none. Public hearing for special exception 09-2019 is closed. Mr. Carter, so the second floor has never been built out?
There was 8,800 square feet of total space.
Right.
When it was, I think originally built, it was 3,700 of it was built in really nice. And we have what's basically considered to be vanilla box up there now. There's heating and air conditioning units in place. There's exterior walls, but the walls now are, I mean, the rooms now, they're huge. They're 100 foot by
Right.
40 foot, this type of
Right.
thing. But there's a lot of infrastructure already in place. But now they got to do the walls, the ceiling, the floors. We have to install 3 bathrooms, shower. One of the nice things about what Keys Academy is doing is that they're having fairly large classrooms to accommodate, maybe 10 kids at a time in a class. But yes, no, it has never been fully built out.
Okay.
No. Okay?
Thank you. Oh, yeah, it has an elevator, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Other questions, Mrs. Long?
Yes, Mr. Finch, I wasn't clear, loading and unloading. It says there was a space for loading and unloading. However, looking at the picture, it looks like that's just the front entrance there, and there are 2 handicap spots on each side, so how are you fitting a school bus?
The indication was, and we actually prepared a map which showed the proposed loading and unloading area. It's on the north side of the building.
Is there a door there?
It's,
This picture's so big, it's really easy to see.
yeah, it's basically to the top of the picture. Look, there's a faint area which says, so if you look at the building, it's just to the top of the building
All right, so
is their
there's a door
proposed
on the
area.
side. I
Yeah,
can
what
see.
we've said is, that's fine, that's a designated area. We actually just need a detailed plan as part of the approval of that. We just want to make sure there's no issues with other parking and other uses, either now or in the future, for that building.
And then my other question is, since this will be located in Caroline County, and our Caroline County schools will, I think, be very interested in this project, do they get first placement choice consideration? Hey, go for it.
There is actually a letter of
Just
support
consideration.
in your packet from the Caroline County Public Schools related to this request.
Mrs. Long, you can't dictate business.
But I can suggest.
I understand, but make it in the form of an
Get sued.
extemporaneous thought.
Actually, this is something that at GWRC has been talked about, getting academies closer in because so many people are having to send their students 2 hours away and they're losing out on hours of study time. So I think it's a wonderful idea.
Mr. Forehand?
Mr. Fincham, the dialogue surrounding the drop-off concerns?
Yes, sir.
Isn't in our packet, but can you give us some insight as to why we even are even addressing that in our packet versus the landlord kind of dictating that?
Special exception.
Parking is regulated through the county zoning ordinance, as is loading and unloading. There's actually a chapter in our zoning ordinance that speaks to that. Because of, excuse me, typical office building use, you expect, for example, doctor's offices, professional offices, traffic coming and going. There's a little bit of a difference here with the school involvement related to, some limited number of buses coming in. So it's a little different loading and unloading than we typically deal with. So that's why we dealt with that in the conditions.
All right, fair enough. And this might be more for the applicant. I guess I was just surprised that there's no outdoor, it's not a daycare, I know that, but there's no recreational facilities outside or inside. Maybe there are in the plans, we don't have that.
If you look if you're facing the building, you look to the right side, there's a small parking lot that goes all the way down each side of the building. The left side is commuter parking. The right side, we're actually going to fence off, and that's going to be a basketball court, blacktop area
That's currently designated as your drop-off area.
in front of that. So we're not going to be
Okay.
pulling all the way down there and turning
Oh, I
around.
see.
It's actually too narrow. It would congest things.
Okay.
So right in front of that, there's there's parking right here on this side, there's parking in the front of the building, there's parking in the middle. So it would just be a little loop that goes down the far right-hand side of the parking lot, drops off right in front of what we fence off as the basketball court, and then could either go in the front door or right down the sidewalk through the back entrance.
Okay, perfect.
And then there is also, we hope to possibly put in a play area set on the grassy lot opposite the school, opposite the building.
Okay.
There's also the United Methodist Church right next door, has a beautiful play area that I was fortunate enough to see on my last visit Thursday that I did not realize was there. And so we might also see if we could use that or collaborate with them. And I neglected to say that Charlene Gray is here tonight too. We have acquired her graciously from Dr. Calveric with the Caroline Public Schools. She'll be our new director for Keys Academy Caroline if it goes through.
Okay, thank you.
Well, oh, go ahead. Reggie had questions I was going to go to next.
You just have a couple questions for you.
Yes, sir.
You say your curriculum is online and face-to-face. What % is online?
It varies by grade and age, so about 70% of our high school curriculum is available online. We present it multiple ways. It's available online. About 60% of our middle school, 40% of our elementary. So what we have is we have multiple online learning curriculum. Apex is what we use for high school. Apex we use for middle school. A company called Edgenuity that does hybrid for elementary. And they have online curriculum that's 100% aligned with the Virginia Standards of Learning, which is why we use these curriculum. Our teachers are trained to take the curriculum off the computer and present it in small groups, in large groups, and noted a large group for us is 10 students, a small group is 2 to 3, or one-on-one with students, depending on however they best learn. It's really situated to them. What it allows us to do, if there's a student that's really having a rough morning and is not available for learning at the time that the subject matter is being presented, that student can make that up later in the day through the online curriculum with the help of a paraprofessional or teacher.
Classrooms are basically 1 to 10, is that correct? And
Staff to student ratio is 1 to 3. We have 1 teacher and 2 paraprofessionals in each classroom of 10 students, up to 10 students.
And you mentioned you use Apex, Edgenuity, and any other curriculum, online curriculum? that you
Lexia Learning is also a reading curriculum we use online with the elementary and middle school. We use Reflex Math as a math fluency support. We use Wilson Reading Systems, which Caroline County Schools also utilizes and that's a person-to-person reading support. Study Island is a really nice SOL prep, SOL review for 3rd grades through 8th grade. So a variety, but our core curriculums are the Apex and the Edgenuity.
Okay. You say you're operating 3 other academies at this point.
Yes, sir.
Can you talk about a little bit about success rates, whether it's returning to the school district, because that's a success?
Sure. We
Increasing
actually
grade
have
level, so.
Yeah, we have a really, a very good success rate of returning students to the public schools, as well as if we get the students later on in high school, graduating them with standard diplomas. Standard diplomas are our norm, not our exception. So we're able to get many students, and often they come to us as sophomores with no credits and no SOLs. We're able to get them caught up and graduated on time or early.
So how many modified diplomas would you say are part of your program, on average? Just
Out
average.
of the past
Out of
9 years, we've given 4 modified, standard, modified diplomas. All the others have been standard.
Okay,
And
thank
we've
you.
had 25 students that have gotten diplomas. We've had 1 GED.
Okay, thank you.
Quick question.
Mr. Thomas.
Just one quick question,
Yes, sir.
and maybe it's more for Mr. Carter, because you're going to talk about the school and the concepts, which I don't know, Reggie knows, but I know a little bit about architecture and buildings, so maybe,
Okay.
Mr. Carter, what's on the first floor?
Mary Washington Middle School, right?
Mr. Thomas, the first floor is all built out as medical space. Half of it is leased to Mary Washington Healthcare, the doctor's office that was originally over beside where, what is now the post office at Lady
Right.
Smith. They absorbed Caroline Christian Health Center and moved their operation over there.
How do you intend to segregate the two uses? You don't really want them mixed going in the same front door and
Well,
things like that? How do you plan to segregate?
Actually, the lobby is set up so that when you walk in, there is a doorways that separate Mary Washington's operation. Now, the elevator is right there, the stairwell is right there. I don't necessarily see an issue with that. Mary Washington is aware of this school wanting to be there. So I don't necessarily see an issue, and certainly if there does become one, then we would address it. But I don't think we'll have much of an issue. And once they are upstairs, you know, the staff has got the children under their watch all the time.
I mean, there may be, because we've had this discussion in urban school centers where you have to separate and make sure there's, you know, joint buildings. But if you've got a way to make sure that that's okay, I'd like to hear it.
Actually, according to our licensure through private special education, private day placement schools, through the DOE, we actually do have to have clear separation. That's part of us being licensed.
Okay.
So, and I've already gone with my DOE rep through Richmond and shown her the floor plan, how we are entering. We're going to use the elevator and the stairwell upstairs or the back stairwell upstairs. It is fine for us to enter and exit in the same space. Our students are always supervised.
That was the point.
Always
Okay.
supervised. And then once you're upstairs, we're
That's
a
fine.
school, so it's,
Right.
you know, everything's locked so that, you know, we have to worry about intruders as does any school. So we'll have the same safety precautions.
So we had talked about the bus dropping kids off, but the bus doesn't drop you off like they do at the high
No, sir.
school. And
No,
you run from the bus stop to upstairs, you're always supervised.
We have staff outside,
So we'll
yes,
take care of
sir.
that. Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions from board members? Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve SPX 09, 2019, as presented.
I have a motion and a second. 2 seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Congratulations. Welcome to Caroline.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, your next public hearing is RZ 02-2019, 17431 Jefferson Davis LLC owner, Matt Brandt applicant. They're requesting a rezoning on tax map 52-A-136, which consists of approximately 0.928 acres, and tax map 52D-1-7, which contains approximately 1.23 acres. The rezoning is a proffer amendment, so it's conditional B1 to conditional B1. The purpose of the rezoning is to modify the GDP and proffers associated with RZ 02-2017. The property is located at 17431 Jefferson Davis Highway, Ruther Glen, in the Madison voting district. The 2030 comprehensive plan designates this as community business. The board may recall a couple of years ago, this property has been zoned for a number of years. There was a development plan that was approved with the original rezoning, which is included in your packets somewhere around page 6. That GDP was, and zoning approval was specifically for a more urban type of retail space with the parking located to the rear. The original owner and developer has passed away. It's been acquired by another landowner, and that landowner has come in several times to defer the implementation of the original GDP, and the board has granted that deferral. The owner now is in a position where he wants to sell the property to two abutting property, or to two property owners First property owner is Mr. Matt Brandt, who owns the insurance agency and has his office on the front parcel of the application. The parcel to the rear, which was to be parking, is intended to be purchased by Mr. Evan Stout, who's also a business owner in the Ladysmith Business Park back there. His plan is to take that portion and incorporate it into his development, where he's developed some commercial office and flex space in that facility back there. So the proposed amendment would be to replace the original zoning in GDP and allow the property to be sold to the two abutting property owners for them to develop those two properties on their own. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on this application and forwarded the request to the board with a recommendation approval, subject to the revised proffers for the two properties.
Sure. Mr. Tom, any questions from board members? I mean, I don't know if anybody, Mr. Thomas was sort of in my ear. I want to make sure I didn't miss him. At this time, I will open the public hearing on RZ 02-2019 on 17431 Jefferson Davis Highway. LLC owner, Matt Brandt, applicant. Public hearing is now open. Mr. Brandt.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm Matt Brandt. I reside in Mr. Forehand's district. I'm not going to repeat much was already said about the proposal. Along with me today is Mr. Evan Stout and Gary Watts, who are interested parties in the proposal. In addition to what Mr. Fincham has already mentioned, I'll just also mention that the plan also calls for the removal of 2 gravel driveways on US 1 and replace it with 1 VDOT approved commercial entrance, which should certainly help with traffic flow and have a more a better entrance for the for those 2 buildings. So the new entrance will service the 2 locations that are there. As I said, the 2 gravel driveways will be removed. And myself, Mr. Stout, and Mr. Watts are available for questions if needed.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else? Hearing none? The public hearing is now closed. Board members? Mr. Forehand?
Let's have a question, Mr. Fincham.
Yes, sir.
Looking at the access, and I'm really looking forward to the access to the backside of that. Would this be a VDOT approved road, or is this simply for access to the back building that happens to access a VDOT road? Or
It can be a VDOT road in the future if the road is extended all the way through.
okay.
At a minimum, it will be a common commercial driveway entrance for the 2 properties currently fronting on Route 1, with the property in the rear to utilize the existing cul-de-sac next to Mr. Stout's other facilities. It's kind of a double-edged sword. On the one hand, we want to encourage the through traffic, but we want to make sure the road's constructed to the appropriate standards.
Right.
And the improvements to the Route 1 intersection are taken care of accordingly. You don't want a through road dumping out a bunch of traffic without the appropriate turn lanes and deceleration lanes. So it gives us some flexibility. And if the road is extended through, then we have the opportunity to fully address the VDOT concerns related to a full intersection there. But at a minimum, it will be a commercial driveway entrance for the two Route 1 properties.
And the road, looking at the map, I'm looking at the one that shows the proposed road. It's on the parcel next to it, not on the parcel that we're discussing. Does that easement go along with the parcel? Is that any of our concern at all?
I think he's looking at the third page, Mr. Fincham.
Yes, that will be taken care of during the permitting process for the road, so all the necessary easements will be in place.
Okay. I think it's a win-win. Personally.
Does anybody, my question, does anybody else have access to that driveway? Because there is an adjoining property. Is there any interest by them, any one of the other members?
Yep.
Evan, I mean, do they want to, is there any interest in them using your entranceway?
The barber shop to the right should be on that plat also.
Yes, it's here. If you look at the site plan,
That's what I'm looking at. So
yeah,
I'm,
to the south of this access road, there's a little building there. It's a barber shop. That property is also owned by Mr. Stout.
so that's right there at the intersection, it looks like, of another property line on page 3. I see what you're looking at. If you lay that flat and put your finger where you're talking about, I'll figure it out. Because I see two buildings. Okay, so it is the building closest.
That's Mr. Stout's, and then the building on the north side is Mr. Brandt's.
Okay,
So, and both of those would use this access road.
so it actually would service 3 businesses at that point.
3 structures.
3.
because there might
It could go to the rear as well, okay?
Right.
And eventually that interconnection can be made with the cul-de-sac, subject to meeting all the VDOT, the design standards for a through road.
Okay. I was just curious, because I see the proposed building in the back,
Yes,
and I was just looking at the front. I know Matt Brandt is over to the left.
yes.
Me looking at this, so,
The lot to the rear is also intended to be purchased by Mr. Stout.
Okay.
And that's where he wants to incorporate similar to what he's already done.
okay. Any other questions?
All right, hearing none, I'll make a motion that we adopt RZ 02-2019.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Discussion.
Mr. Thomas?
I need to make a statement that Mr. Brandt is my insurance agent. He is not a family member, which is kind of obvious. And I am also, have no financial gain in this project. So
Okay.
that's all. Thank you.
I have a motion and a second. Any further?
My motion was as presented.
I was going to ask if, and Mr. Black, your second is as presented?
Okay.
Hearing nothing else, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Congratulations, gentlemen.
We expect the permit application, Mr. Stout, in the office tomorrow morning.
I was going to say 8 o'clock tomorrow, 8:30 tomorrow morning. Gary's got in his back pocket, he's going to drop it off with Mike on his way out. Mr. Fincham.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, your last public hearing this evening is RZ 03-2019, the Virginia Bazaar owner and applicant. They are requesting a rezoning from B1 business, no specified density, with proffers, to M1 industrial, no specified density, on tax map 53-A-64B, containing approximately 97.25 acres. The property is located at 18,188, 18,190, and 18,191 Bazaar Avenue, Ruther Glen, in the Mattaponi voting district. The proposed use is industrial. The 2030 comprehensive plan designates this property as being within the Ladysmith Community Plan and designated as regional business. The applicant is requesting a rezoning from B1 business to M1 industrial, which also has allowable B1 uses in accordance with Article 10, Article 10, paragraph 23 of the Caroline County zoning ordinance. A recently adopted text amendment to the zoning ordinance allows for B1 uses in the M1 zoning district when designated on a generalized development plan approved with a rezoning. The property was rezoned to business in 1999, and the Virginia Bazaar, as we all are aware, is located on that property. The applicant is requesting to rezone the property to give to the M1 with the allowable B1 uses to give them flexibility in marketing the sale of the property for potential users. The B1 zoning is limited to the area designated on the GDP, which is included in your packet. However, all the property would be allowed the M1 uses under the M1 zoning. The subject property is located on the southeast quadrant of the I-95 Route 639 interchange and is a southern gateway to Ladysmith off of Interstate 95. Any change to the zoning in this area needs to be carefully evaluated to ensure that it is consistent with the goals and objectives of the Ladysmith Community Plan. The introduction of industrial uses to an area not previously planned for such uses requires heightened attention by the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors to ensure that the requested uses are compatible and any new impacts are adequately addressed. You do have the revised proffers in your packet as submitted by the applicant. You also have a little cheat sheet that we prepared which shows you the B1 uses, the M1 uses, and what's been modified with respect to this request. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on this and forwarded the application to the board with a recommendation of denial.
Mr. Fincham, that was a unanimous vote too, was it not?
Pardon?
That was a unanimous vote?
I believe it was, yes, sir.
Thank you.
At this time, I am going to open the public hearing. I'm opening the public hearing for RZ 03 2019 Virginia Bazaar owner applicant. Public hearing is now open.
Ladies and, excuse me. Hi, Floyd, 20 years. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Chip Chandler from the Virginia Bazaar. I live in Charlottesville. I've been involved with the Bazaar project since its inception. The big issue, of course, comes around to the comprehensive plan in my mind, which I certainly understand. I think 20 years ago, I certainly envisioned this property as being a commercial center type situation that would work very well for Caroline County. I think the events of the last 20 years as life has evolved in the retail world with the internet and everything else, with Walmart thinking about coming to Caroline and not coming to Caroline, I just don't ever see this property, which I believe to be one of the best properties, commercial properties, for a variety of reasons, which I put in my letter, in all of Caroline County. And so what I've attempted to do is work within the parameters of the zoning ordinance, or the comprehensive plan, and create a scenario where with the proper proffers, the site to plan process and the development standards of the county, that this is a property that can be zoned before we have a user. Our challenge has been we've had multiple, and John Schwartz will speak to this in a little bit, a lot of inquiries about the property, but it's all M1, right? And where that's left us is most potential users are not willing to go through the extended process of rezoning and the uncertainty of rezoning. I think that we've accomplished this. We're open, I've tried to pull the uses out of the industrial zoning category that I don't think that you might feel were appropriate on this site. Certainly open to any discussion of any concerns the board has about any of the potential uses that would be allowed by right. The property already has a road built to state standards with a state-approved entrance that was designed for a significant amount of traffic, and the proffers require that we provide the right-of-way and any on-site improvements needed when the TIA would take place, the traffic impact analysis would take place in the site plan process. With that said, I'll let John speak to you a little bit about what he's seen in the demand world, but I'm certainly available to answer any of your questions and discuss any of your concerns. Thank you.
I'm John J. Schwartz. I live in Henrico County, Virginia. Mr. Chairman, Supervisors, Mr. Cully, and the Caroline team. I've been very fortunate to be involved in a lot of real estate in the Commonwealth of Virginia, about 20 cities and counties. Caroline's probably been the #1 county that I've done business in. I provided you with a presentation that I'm going to briefly run through. Hopefully you have a copy of it. I've produced about 25,000 jobs, and I can't lose track of how many millions of dollars in tax revenues for about 20 cities and counties in the Commonwealth. Caroline being #1, page 2 of my presentation, you'll see that there's 27 separate parcels of property and a various host of users that I've been responsible for bringing to Caroline County. And you can see they vary from Value City, the first Flying J east of the Mississippi, which was on the west side of 95 in 1991. We did that project. To most recently the Harris Teeter project, which will start construction hopefully this year, is what I'm told. That will be on 190 acres at the intersection of Carmel Church, Ruther Glen, Carmel Church and the Highway 95. They're going to build 1.5 million square feet and hire over 1,000 people, which will generate a lot of other activity on some of the other commercially zoned lands in that area. The question of rezoning is extremely important. I've been at this a very long time, and you'll notice on page 3, I sent a note around to about hundreds of the various members of the Industrial Asset Management Council, the International Association of Corporate Real Estate Executives, along with the end users of the retail markets in the International Council Shopping Centers. I got answers, and I picked out from them the mix of people that makes the most sense. They're everything from the industrial commercial end users, the real estate and economic development community, the directors of those associations and departments within public sectors, as well as real estate developers. I won't read these. You're welcome to read them and see who the people are. But unanimously, they said, by and large, if it ain't zoned, we ain't coming. We're not even going to look at it. And today, with the internet, companies all over the globe, they go on the internet. They go to CoStar, LoopNet, Crexi, you name it. There's about 4 agencies like that. And they're looking for a relocation somewhere. They go to the internet, they look for sites. And if you put a site on that, it's not zoned, forget it, you're not even going to look at it. They're moving on to the next one. That's the first thing they do. They don't care if it's perfect in every other way. If it's not zoned, they're not taking the risk. We've been at this over 40 years. I can tell you that's the way it is. Virginia Economic Development Partnership, Steve Moret put an article out that is also in your packet from me, basically with the Go Virginia things. New state study shows few large sites in Virginia are ready for economic development. This site should be ready. This site, the Virginia Bazaar, is the most ready site you have in Caroline County. There's a whole host of properties from the Bull Church intersection on the southeast corner. You got one zoned M1. It's in the woods. Behind that is a designated mega site of 500 acres. That's in the woods. You come all the way down Ladysmith Road to Route 1. You all have rezoned a host of properties M1. There's not the first user for those properties. Those property owners wanted to zone it M1 because that's the great demand today from Washington to the Carolina border. We see that constantly. Not the first user in those sites. Also, none of those sites have the services we have. You heard Mr. Chandler tell you, we are ready to go. We have a road finished, hard surface coming in off of Ladysmith Road. We have a 67,000 square foot building ready to be used, conditioned, heated and air conditioned, which you don't find anywhere. We have over 20 acres of concrete parking ready to be used. We have stormwater retention ponds. And I would venture to say that of all the properties zoned M1 from Bull Church to Route 1, a lot of them don't have that. A lot of them didn't have that when they came before you, and they still don't have it. We have all of that. We also have 1,500 feet of frontage. And I think Mr. Wilson will echo this, that we've had a number of companies come through here looking at sites in Caroline, Vitamin Shop, FedEx, and some others, who said, if I don't have visibility on interstate, I'm not coming. So they went to other counties. We had a company, McGrath, out of California, just recently, in the last 6 months, and we put them temporarily in Milford, luckily, and had them there for a number of months, but we weren't zoned, and they repeatedly came back to us and said, are you zoned? And when they heard the Planning Commission said no, he said, forget it. They're in Fredericksburg. It's part 80 acres, 30 jobs going to start fairly soon. So, we're the most shovel-ready site. That's the main thing. VDP's telling you need larger sites that are ready to go. They formed a new group that meets quarterly of market makers, and I've been very fortunate to be included in that group. We had our first meeting today, and they put out an unbelievable white paper, which I've shared with some people here. Late today, unfortunately, I had everybody's email, so I couldn't send it to everybody. And it basically talks about how important it is to have a site that's ready to go. This site's ready, and we really need that rezoning. You need that rezoning. It's good for the county, because it'll give us the opportunity to do the things that we do every day in my business, which is offer sites that are ready to go, shovel-ready and actually developable. This one is beyond developable. This has got concrete, got a building, it's cleared, it's got a road into it. We may have to do a TIA depending on what the user is. We even have other uses looking at that area. We also have the 133 at 23 acres that wraps around the bazaar that's not zoned. That one will come up another day. But that one should be designated also in the marketplace for some change. What that should be, I don't know. We're not here to talk about that tonight. But again, I want to emphasize that most of these other sites that are zoned M1 never had a user, still don't have a user. And so they were rezoned without any of the benefits and attributes of a shovel-ready site like the Virginia Bazaar. So I ask you, for the good of the county, helping us create more jobs, more opportunities, that you consider rezoning Virginia Bazaar as requested. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Anyone else?
We can't ask questions right now,
No,
but
we're
after
gonna
we
wait till we
close
get-
public hearing. then-
Correct. Anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else? Public hearing is now closed. Board members' questions?
Mr. Fincham? Sorry.
That end of the table's got real issues.
He's contagious, evidently. I've been doing it for 3 weeks now. Just piggyback on comment from Mr. Schwartz, the other parcels, and this is before my time, were they grandfathered in when the zoning ordinance started? Where they had, I know a lot of people had choices what they wanted them, or was it something that came to the board?
I don't recall any recent M1 zonings up in that area. There are some older M1 zonings a little bit further down, further east on 639. There's some commercial and a little industrial on the north side of 639 as you go up Old Church Road. Probably one of the most recent rezonings was a small 10-acre parcel down off of Goldensville Road near the intersection of Bull Church Road. It's a small M1 piece down there. At the time, I forget the name of it, but Green Valley Book Fairs over in the Shenandoah Valley was looking at a facility in the county that never materialized. But most of the zoning is older zonings up in that area.
All right. I do have a question for the applicant, or Mr. Schwartz possibly, I'm not. Regarding the tier designation, I've seen that in multiple places. Are you marketing the property as what tier?
I think we have to have the zoning first, but what we're going to do is retain one of the engineering firms who's making proposals to us now. This morning I learned that there's a whole different program in that which coordinates with the ownership and possibly the county to provide some resources to get it tiered 4, tier 5. And that's what we'll go after, because those are the tiers everybody wants.
Okay.
And I want to ask you, maybe try to answer the question, the piece that was rezoned M1 at Route 1 and Ladysmith Road in that area, wasn't that in the last year or so? And then there's another one on Ladysmith Road that also got rezoned. Those two were rezoned not within the last 24 months at least. Or am I missing something?
I thought we were talking about the east side of 95.
Yeah, I was
But-
asking about the Bull Church, that
Right.
that area.
Yes, sir.
I was aware of the one on Route 1.
Okay, I'm sorry, just want to make sure. Wasn't trying to get anybody in trouble.
No, that's understood. Okay, I think that's all the questions I have.
Other board members' questions? Mr. Thomas?
I have a couple. And you're right, Mr. Chandler, it does seem like 20 years since we were together before, but you did do a great job with the bazaar. We thought that was a good project and wanted to keep going. So I'm glad we're both still pumping blood after 20 years. It's good to see you again. And for Mr. Schwartz, to be honest, I voted against Flying J. It probably does do a great deal for the county, but I always lay my cards on the table. You did do a great job with Harris Teeter, and I believe a property you're working with is where we're going to soon locate a fire station in Carmel Church. So I appreciate all you've done, and I think we're considering your application a little more at the Board of Supervisors level just because of what you gentlemen have done for the county so far. But in reading the Planning Commission reports, they're concerned about the vagueness of the application and not having an actual prospect. And I know you've stated that's the best way to go, to have a prospect. So I would like to give you an opportunity to get a prospect because you've gone through basically the Planning Commission requirements. You've had the public hearing with the Board of Supervisors. If we turn your project down, you can't come back for another year.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to make a motion that we defer it for 90 days with the understanding that you're in the process. And if you have a prospect to come back, you can give that to Mr. Wilson. He'll inform the board, or you can come directly to me. Mr. Schwartz and I talk on a regular basis. You can come to me and say, I've got a prospect. And then we can revisit it. So I'm going to make a motion that we defer this particular application for 90 days in the hopes that you can firm up the prospect. And that's my motion.
And I'll second, and mainly because I want to be able to dive into this a little deeper, personally.
Okay.
You know, you've got some major parcels that were rezoned without the first user in the county, so I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. The major piece that Mr. Thompson brought, that 800 and some acres or whatever it is, that hadn't got the first user, has never had the first user, and who knows when that'll happen. That's been rezoned into a master program, and they've never had the first prospect. The Shia piece never was a prospect to begin with. It was totally rezoned, even built a road through there. So I just want to mention that. I don't know how many of you were involved at that time, so I apologize.
Well, you make an interesting point because you say the Shia property has a road to it and it's got water and sewer, which would make it a Tier 3, Tier 4 piece of property.
They won't make it Tier 4, Tier 5. They won't spend the money to do it.
It's not going to be as big as this. Plus, it's not as large as this property.
Well, and again, if I might say, a 90-day window to try to find a prospect, we've been, I think they're still going to be in the same position we are today, which is they don't know that we have zoning for the property. I don't know how the process can work for the board to possibly consider reviewing what we've done and try to create a framework within the proffer process and the development standards of the county to where the control's already been, you've created the control. You've limited the number of uses to where you're satisfied with what you've allowed by right on the piece of property as M1, with the requirements that traffic, any of the other issues, or any other concerns the board has can either be addressed at that point or be addressed now so that the board is comfortable.
I will let you work this out with Mr. Thomas and Mr. Wilson.
Okay?
Because at this point, I've got a motion and a second.
Okay.
I'm okay
And
with that.
I will proceed with, I have a motion and a second. If there's no further
That's great.
comment.
I think that's as close to a win as we can get right now.
Good, thank you.
All in favor of the defer for 90 days signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Well, thank you for that vote. Well, we need to find a good.
Right. Well, M1 would actually not allow truck stop, well, that'd be a special exception. But I don't want a storage lot there either. We have fairly high hopes.
We are now on agenda item number 9, the last. All right, I don't know how we're going to proceed with this,
Mr. Chair, can we have a break?
No, we're
No,
gonna
we're
roll
forward?
on, because
Okay.
this is the last thing, and we're done for the evening. Getting everybody back up here will be impossible. Well, I keep looking at the cost of this, every time we look at this, the cost goes up. I was gonna say Mr. Cully is gonna talk about it.
I don't know that I'm in charge of it, but I volunteered to do it. But we have 3 separate issues. You don't have to get to the other 2 if the first issue is the end of the project. So we'll start there. We initially, this goes back to last summer. I'm not going to read all this, it's in the packet, but the board previously approved an allocation of $25,788. That was based on an estimate developed from an original design that was provided by Ms. Kara Taylor, which consisted of a simple 30-foot circular paver area with 3 flag poles and a monument stone. After that, we were informed that we probably needed to look to save a Japanese maple that was planted by another civic organization at some time in the past. So we developed a different approach to incorporate that tree into the area. But then we needed to be able to try to bid something out, so we needed some sort of more of a design, and we hired a local architect designer to draw up something we could get official prices from 3 contractors. So that does have 3 raised flower beds and plantings and some benches and Americans with Disabilities Act compliant entrance. After we got prices on that, then that escalated to $51,200. So we've got pictures of that design. We could go back to the original design submitted by Kara Taylor, with the benches and the ADA compliant entrances added in. That's still going to be around $34,150, which is over the $25,000 that we originally thought. But those are prices we've actually gotten from contractors. But if you move to option 2, then we're going to need an additional $25,412 for the project, and that's on moving now. If we study this another 2 or 3 months, the prices we have will be gone, and we'll have to rebid it again. And so I don't expect them to go down in the summer. Everybody's busy with like pulling teeth to get prices as it was for this. We have. Does anybody remember how much that was? $8,700. So we do own a rock, big stone. Has not been engraved yet. That's issue number 2. We can certainly keep moving if you want, but if you...
No, the reality first is what have we already invested?
That we
So
have
if
the
we
stone.
already bought a stone,
We have.
what, we just gonna lay the stone there naked and
No.
say, this is our monument, or what's the story?
That's an
Resell
option.
it.
Put it by the maple out.
Oh, we're gonna sell the
Japanese
stone on
maple.
eBay? Oh, okay. Oh, that makes sense. Now we're talking.
I didn't say that.
No, but our attorney said that, so we're gonna take that as legal advice.
Paid for legal advice.
He was just joking, okay.
And so the second thing, if you're going to do it with the stone and the design, you had originally picked out some wording, but after purchasing this stone as sort of a triangle, we recommend changing some words around, and then you need to decide if you're gonna put the generic symbols on there or not, or maybe put symbols in bricks down on the front. What becomes a problem is you can't go back and engrave part of it and then engrave more later. It's not gonna work. So if you turn further over in your packet, you'll see we have honoring our brave first responders with some symbols. We got honoring our first brave responders, past, present, future, Caroline County, with no symbols, so you see what that's like. Then we have that same wording with, instead of our, with the, and then you move over to what I like is honoring our brave public safety first responders, past, present, future, Caroline County. That's number 5, with a generic sheriff symbol, a fire rescue symbol, and a emergency medical symbol, and a generic call taker symbol.
What is that symbol?
The call taker, dispatch.
Oh,
It's just
dispatch.
generic for dispatch. So if somebody would pick one of those out and give us the money, then we'll engrave, or tell us what we're doing.
I guess we have to go back, as Mr. Excuse me. Mr. Cully, you had said, the, running away from me? The cost of the project, it's disappointing that the cost has gone up. I mean, it's really, and we've talked about this, never mind, I'm not gonna say it.
Whatever happened to the 15-foot diameter circle that we talked about and doing the stone in that? Because after we went from 30, we went to 15 foot, and it was gonna fit there, and the maple stayed the whole 9 yards.
Somebody will have to come up, I don't know.
So what happened to that? Anybody have any idea? Because we talked about moving it forward. Well, no, because the cost of this just keeps creeping up. We'll be at $50,000 here pretty soon. Right, over.
The original was always 30.
I heard 30, but then we talked about keeping the maple and leaving the garden and making that circle 15 feet. It would fit between the trees and would have fit in there, no problems, what I was told like a month later.
I don't remember the size reducing. I remember us saying move it further, or moving it further down and leaving the size of it. We can always try to make it smaller.
So some of this extra cost is because we want to save that maple?
Correct.
Correct.
That's where it went from the 30-foot circle to a bigger, with some beddings, so the tree could be included in the bedding.
Yeah, it would be.
And the garden club is still technically a lot of those people.
That's this drawing with the color on it.
Yeah. How much does it cost to move the maple?
You'll kill it.
No, you can't.
You can't move it any, it's too old.
I like that. Yes. I mean, I'm okay with, I don't like the fact that the price has gone up, I really don't. So either we have to go back to the drawing board if we're not happy with the price, or we move forward. This thing has been gone from it's been a political football, it's been, it was a lady who stepped up, that really wanted to do something for our first responders, because we have nothing in the county. Here we are over, I believe, a year later, right? We're 18 months later from when this first came to us, and it's highly disappointing that we have to look at a much more expensive design. But please understand, I think this is going to be a one-time cost. And I expect that if we pay this, Mr. Shebel, that this price will not go up on us. This is if we choose option 2, that this price we will not see another price increase.
We have a contractor that is willing to do this as long as he can complete the work by the end of March.
I hope you understand from our end, that can be a little frustrating on the cost.
He gave this bid 4 months ago and said, this is winter work, I can give you a great price. You wait till spring when I'm busy, my price goes up. So we got 3 bids, he was the lowest. He was willing to work with us over the winter months. We wait till March, his price is no good, we have to get it re-quoted.
No, 50.
So,
25 more than what we had.
Can I ask a
Yes,
question?
go for
Mr. Shebel, if we took out the big planner, do you have any idea if that would make a difference? Much?
Anything that you take out would save money. It was originally a 30-foot circle, we were asked to move it. Then we wanted to save a tree and have it redesigned.
Right, so we keep the planner around the trees,
Right.
the planner around the front, maybe take out that great big one. I don't know, but I just don't know what that would save us. I think we need to do it, one way or the other, gentlemen.
I'm going to go ahead and make the motion for the first
Well, let
part.
me make sure nobody else has got any other comments before, because we're not done. Mr. Forehand hasn't had a chance yet either. And neither is Mr. Underwood. So, Mr. Forehand?
I've priced Technoblock before. It's a great product. It's an expensive product. And I know people that have put 20 grand into their backyard, and they're all tricked out with landscaping, built-in grills and stuff like that. It didn't cost $50,000, and it's probably going to look as nice as this. But they're using poured concrete, stamped concrete, things like that. And I don't know, this is the most expensive way to do what we're doing.
And we've
It's
also
really-
got to
it's
do
really
maintenance
nice.
on this, which is my real concern. If this isn't going to be cheap to keep.
I just can't see dumping 25, I can't see in my own mind putting $50,000 into this. I can see 25, I can justify that in my head, I can see 30, but I can't get my arms around 50. What's that?
Well,
I got an $8,000 rock. What am I doing with an $8,000 rock? Do I just carve the rock and throw it up there?
Leaning up against the building.
I have an $8,000 rock. What do I do with this $8,000 rock?
Well, wait a minute, everybody but Mr. Underwood's had an opportunity, and I want to give him an opportunity before we start down this path again. Mr. Underwood?
Yeah, my only comment is that you just went to a first responders, fire and rescue last Saturday, right?
Yeah?
You talked about how many hours these folks put into
I'm not arguing that at all.
giving service to the county. It's not optimal, but I think at some point, we have to say and show some appreciation. It's not ideal, it's not where we started, it's not where we want to be, but certainly it shows our commitment and our appreciation for what they've given the county over the years. And we're going to have additional folks as they get older, our captains and those folks who started our
50-year
EMS,
veterans.
our 50-year veterans. They deserve to have a monument or some kind of tribute to the number of hours they've been away from their families. And I think this is a small price to pay for us sitting here, debating about $25,000.
No, we're debating 50,000,
I
not
know, I'm saying
25.
additional, we budgeted 25, now it's an additional 25. I just think, again, that we're not really thinking this through and what it means and is going to mean to a lot of people who've given a lot of time to Caroline County. Like Floyd said, when this house burned down, he wished they had shown up a lot quicker. It was not a good feeling.
Not at all.
But they've saved a lot of folks.
Not at all. That wasn't here.
By being committed to time away from their families. I think it's a small price. I think we need to do it and move on.
Mrs.
Price
Long?
has been 18.
I'll also remind everyone that there is going to be the sale of memorial bricks, and the sponsor bricks are $500 a piece. So if the public gets behind this and purchases the memorial bricks, and we get businesses to do the sponsor bricks, 10 of them is 10 sponsorships is 5,000 of the additional 25. And we certainly have more than 10 businesses in Caroline. So hopefully that will help cover the choice of design number 2.
Turn your mic on, Mr. Thomas.
Am I going to carve my stone in now?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to, this is the first one, go ahead and make a motion for option number 2 for the first issue that we've got to face. So to pay the extra $25,412.
I'll second.
Now that's
This is just.
stone number 2 carving?
No, this is just.
Option 2 on
to
the
spend the
first
money. We're not-
issue,
we're
the
not-
money.
this is just-
Mrs. Long asked about having one of the garden brick I'm worried about the maintenance of this.
All right, wait a minute.
I've got a motion and a second.
Option 2, proceed with the more elaborate design that incorporates the
Yes.
maple tree and allocate an additional $25,000
Yes.
for the project based on the architectural design and construction bids now at hand.
Yes.
Okay, that's option 2.
So there's a motion and a second.
We'll still have discussion. I haven't called for a vote yet. Mr. Forehand had actually hit his mic at one point. I didn't know if he had anything else to say or not. Mrs. Long had actually talked about taking one of the gardens out.
Except we don't know what difference that would make. I did want to say that I spoke to Mr. Shebel about the raised gardens some time ago, maintenance-wise, and he said actually they are easier to maintain than just the loose beds out in the grass. 'Cause
Okay.
it's easier for them to trim around and take care of.
So we have to do Mr. Cully first option 2 and then pick
Mr.
a carving for
Yeah,
the.
let's, yeah.
Yep.
Get this motion.
I call the question.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
To one, what was that?
Okay. Do roll call?
Was it 5-1?
I'll do a roll call vote.
A division of the House then.
Mr. Forehand? Mr. Black?
Aye.
Mrs. Long?
Aye.
Mr. Underwood?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
I'm going to vote nay because I just don't see the other $25,000.
4-2. All right. All right, the next thing we need to consider is how do you want it engraved? Which, we have a picture, you can come up with your own if you want, but we try to present as many different options of way things, because this is the stone. So this is the way the stone looks, so it only fits a certain way.
I like 2, but without Caroline County, Virginia on it, because it's already Caroline County, Virginia symbol, and maybe put a inspirational quote of some sort that we can agree upon.
You're never, I mean, we've got to decide this tonight because this has got to be done by
It shows
by
up
March.
better though, putting it down there.
We got next March. We got all winter.
Oh, what winter? Next winter?
Yeah,
Hold
next
us to a
winter.
price next winter.
I just don't think it's
I
necessary to
like
put
2.
Caroline County, Virginia twice on one rock. It's in the county, it's got the county seal, and we got the name in case you're really slow and you don't realize where it is and where what the rock's for.
Well, you could go with 1 and take out Caroline County and leave the symbol.
So, we're looking at number 2 without Caroline County, Virginia?
No, they like 1.
Option number 1.
You could take out Caroline County and then everybody'd be happy.
Take out Caroline County and slip the symbols up a little bit.
Does that make everybody happy? I'm trying to be a diplomat here.
That's the way I like it, man. The win-win. That's it.
Okay.
There's always a win. All right.
Does that make you happy, Clay?
I don't believe that's going to save.
How much, $1 a letter or something, yeah.
Could have asked us to tyrants on it or something.
Yeah, what's your nice quote?
I don't know, but if you give me till tomorrow this time, I can give you 10 to pick from.
Yeah, and we won't meet it, no.
No.
We got to, it's January, they want to be done by March.
We want to give a purchase order tomorrow.
Just a question, Mr. Shebel, you had said that those symbols cannot, I mean, like, so in other words, if you just went with Caroline, or the number 2, you couldn't go and engrave symbols down the road?
You'd have to have somebody come back in. Our biggest concern was if you put 1 or 2 on and came back in a year or 2 and wanted to put 2 more on or something, you would never get them to match from one doing it at the factory where, you know, they've got a machine that can lay the rock down compared to doing it in place and different techniques. There was a concern of fading, you'll never match them.
We'll just fly another rock in from Egypt and spend another $25,000.
Mr. Chairman, I'm thinking it's getting a little late.
I know, I mean, we need to make, I mean, we just have blown, turn your mic on, I can't.
You okay with one? No.
Like I said, I think the listing Caroline County, Virginia is redundant.
Yeah, I thought we were scratching that.
But,
Okay.
I thought we agreed we were just scratching.
So we're doing,
Right.
so the-
You could actually move the honoring our brave part down, so it won't crack the edges.
Right.
And move the symbols up. So that's just a design, take it past
Yeah, we can push
I move that we select number one with the modifications of taking out the second Caroline County, Virginia, and repositioning a little bit as they see fit.
I have a motion. Second. I have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I would move that on the guidelines for the monument, that we go with option number 2. Anybody else?
I haven't handed these out yet because we haven't gotten to it. We revised option 2 today and option 1 because we found a little bit of, well, sorry.
What's the difference? Can you just tell us the difference rather than?
All right, well, if you flip over to the back side, B shall have departed the organization in good standing as confirmed by appropriate representative of the respective organization. We got rid of confirmed by appropriate representative of the respective organization out of
He's on option 1, back of the page.
I'm on option 2.
Option 2.
Option 2,
I
I'm
thought that's
sorry.
which one she's wanted, but option 1's the same way. We took that,
They took out one sentence.
yeah, in 2 places. In 3, under criteria, B, 3B shall have departed the organization in good standing, comma, as confirmed by appropriate representative of respective organization. After the comma, put a period. We scratched as confirmed by appropriate representative of the respective organization. And under approval A, all engravings shall meet the criteria outlined above as confirmed by appropriate representative of the respective organization. We scratched as confirmed by the appropriate representative of the respective organization once again. Those are the 2 places, correct? Here, I got copies. I just hadn't gotten to them yet because y'all were still stuck in all the other options. Didn't want to muddy the water up, just pass them down.
I'm going to give these to Nancy.
So theoretically, my uncle was a police lieutenant in New York. I could have a paper for him?
No.
Because he's not a local Caroline
Local,
County
yeah.
thing. We got enough?
Yeah, we got enough. I don't.
Only Caroline County first responders, based on, and you added animal control as a first responder, could be eligible for a brick. Correct. Or a paver.
Yeah, monument area dedicated to acknowledgement of the service of Caroline County's volunteer and career firefighters, emergency medical and services personnel, former sheriff's office, animal control officers, E911 dispatch personnel, also referred as first responders.
We have a motion. Anybody, any other comments? Because we're losing everybody fast. Nancy has a motion for option 2. Now we have option 2 is modified. Are we still good with the motion in a second?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
As long as everybody's good with the modification, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. We need to adjourn this meeting.
No, recess.
Or recess, I'm sorry, recess this meeting. I guess we've got Mr.
Yeah, you
Cully's,
can do any of the rest of your stuff,
Why are we recessing?
because
the
we've got a
sheriff's
meeting
work
at 5
session.
o'clock.
and we don't
on
have
the
to
11th.
advertise
Wouldn't that be
it.
adjourned too?
No, it'd be a recess
Recess
to the next, continue meeting until
continue.
February 11th at 5 o'clock. You still got to,
Aren't those the same thing?
What else do I have?
no, adjourn ends the meeting.
Yeah, I'm not ending the meeting.
I would like to. We have new business.
No, we don't.
Well, that's next. We don't have any new business.
Right,
We have
right,
informational closing. board
right. We have
comments.
informational, but it's, I mean, all I saw was the calendar, so,
Right, that is all you have.
and we are through this month.
Where's my hat?
We've already talked about the polar bear plunge. VACO, anybody going to VACO Day?
Yes, somebody was going.
Jeff's going, February 6th. Anybody else?
Meetings and board packet day.
No, it's on a Thursday.
Thursday the 6th.
I got a closing board comment.
Anything else? Mr. Forehand, closing board comment?
There is a, Mr. Kelly, you were at the health meeting tomorrow.
Yes.
I don't recall the specifics of it. I knew I couldn't go, but if anybody is interested in going to that,
Yeah, we met with the health director and the folks that are carrying that out. So it's a community health assessment, and they kind of build a team of folks up to do this complete study to kind of give you, and they've done it in other localities, so we're just in line to have this done for us.
some sort of meetings tomorrow.
Kickoff meeting, and
I think. That's all I have.
Mr. Black?
Mr. Cully, can you, or someone find that, 3 years ago when we talked about the pay increase for the school teachers, can you find that information where they said it was going to cost about $600,000 a year for 3 years? I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Get that
Mrs.
in the
Long?
morning.
No comments, sir.
Mr. Underwood? Mr. Thomas?
I do have one. Mr. Parton informed me that we were trying to have a parking ordinance added through the General Assembly, and Mr. Parton informed me that he was in touch with Delegate Fowler. Delegate Fowler did not return my call as of yet, and that Delegate Fowler would not be putting that through. So I think we're still working with Mr. James. If you could have Mr. James follow up with Mr. Fowler, I would appreciate that. And I will forward Mr. Parton's response to the rest of the board so they can see what was stated by our delegate. That's all. Thank you.
We also had contact with Margaret Ranson's office about that as well, because we contacted not only, we contacted our whole delegation.
She said no?
Well, no, they just asked, was anybody putting it in? And I said I wasn't sure, I hadn't heard from anybody, but then when we called them and said no, we never really heard back. So.
Okay, well, we need to try. It was only a request for permission, as we are a Dillon Rule state, and we all understand that we can't do anything without their permission. Whether we did it or not, we just needed permission to say we were going to look at it. There were some other questions, but I just thought it would be in the board's interest to figure out what happened.
I have no closing board comments. Can I have a motion to recess until 5 o'clock on February 11th in the EOC?
So move.
Second.
Motion to second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are now recessed until the 11th.
All right, Charlie.